All right, folks, welcome back to AngelList Confidential for day 3. Today's going to be our day focused on startups and the people building them, as well as their partners at law firms, talking about advice for building a company in today's market. I wanted to give an overview of today's agenda. You can find the full schedule on our conference website. But first, we're going to start with a keynote about what we're doing here at AngelList to turn equity into a modern currency with our company software suite. Next, we're going to have a panel of partners from law firms who are going to be talking about navigating valuations in today's market. And then we're going to have a panel from 2 great companies in the AI space about how founders can think about integrating AI into their company. And then finally, we'll close AngelList Confidential with some closing thoughts from Avlok, the CEO of AngelList. I wanted to give a quick moment to introduce myself. My name is Samuk. I lead the startup products team here at AngelList. And if we call back to something that Avlok mentioned a few days ago, our focus at AngelList is to build the infrastructure that powers the startup economy. And one of the core pieces of that infrastructure that startups rely on and is their core advantage is their own equity. Startups use equity for being able to fundraise, being able to attract employees to work there, and to grow their company. This is a practice that has been happening for more than 30 years in Silicon Valley and across the world. It's a core component of how startups work. Most startups today give equity to every single employee that joins. And this is a tried and true process, but despite its history, the process is still deeply inefficient. The amount of things that founders and companies have to manage to think through their equity creates lots of friction in issuing the equity. It creates lots of friction for employees in understanding the value of their equity and realizing the benefits, as well as just administrative costs associated with it. And these costs are just distractions that take away from what startups have to do in their core business. So that led us to our position that we believe equity is a broken currency. It's a broken way of exchanging value, and we think that we can build software that helps solve that problem. So I'm going to talk about how we solve that problem for both angles, both for startups who are fundraising as well as for startups who are using equity to attract and retain talent for their employees. Our software suite covers both, and we're going to zoom into just the fundraising products. The first fundraising product I'd like to talk about are called Rollup vehicles. Rollup vehicles are an offering that we launched about 2 years ago that allow startup founders to collect capital efficiently from a lot of investors and turn them into one single line on the cap table. And how that works is we use the infrastructure that we've developed over years at AngelList to run special purpose vehicles, and we create a special version that's designed specifically for founders who are fundraising. And this is a product that has been used a lot over the time, and there's been lots of use cases from just having efficiently closing lots of small check investors to allowing customers to invest. And one of my favorite stories is a healthcare company that sells their products to doctors has been able to let their biggest fans and customers invest themselves as accredited investors into the company despite their check size maybe being smaller than what they would otherwise accept. And this company is essentially able to accept around 70 doctors and other customers of their software onto their cap table and allow them to have some skin in the game and be good advisors for the company. There's a few other use cases as well that I'll talk about, but Rollup vehicles as a product has seen massive scale, and it's not just founders that enjoy it. Investors, this is a quote from an investor who said that angel investing via RUVs is just 10x better. And what they mean here is if you're making a direct check into a company, as a small investor, you don't have a lot of control into the company anyway, but you still have to do a lot of the logistical hurdles of managing signatures and being followed up from a company's lawyer for future rounds, among other things. When investors invest via RUVs, they're able to benefit from the years of experience we've had making this process really efficient and automating it. A statistic about how RUVs have scaled is that just looking at the seed stage of companies that have run RUVs, in the past 2 years, RUVs, from our estimates, have deployed more capital into those companies than the largest dedicated seed stage fund in the market today. And so this is a good example of how when we build infrastructure, it has large impacts for the startup world and how they can raise capital. Of course, RUVs work across stages from pre-seed to Series D and beyond, and both for safes and equity rounds and convertible notes. And so we're excited to help RUVs continue to grow and startups to realize the cost savings of doing so. Startups have realized over $65 million in administrative cost savings over the lifetime of those vehicles just from using an RUV instead of direct closings. Now, the administrative cost savings are great, but what really matters is that startups are able to accept more people as investors, and there's more people in the startup economy and more angel investors able to invest in startups because of this infrastructure. And startups are finding new use cases for roll-up vehicles as well. Nathan Berry of ConvertKit has decided, and their company have decided to run an RUV every 2 years and use it as a core part of their liquidity program, where they'll accept new investors who might want to invest in the company. And as part of this transaction, they'll make it possible for employees to sell some of their ownership in the company. And it's a neat use case that's becoming increasingly common. And we're excited to power them and others like them. What we've done in the last year is that we've integrated some separate platform tools that we've had and brought them into one place. We built a fundraising product called AngelList Raise that's designed for companies to manage their direct investments into their company. We heard from founders over and over again that they loved the experience that their investors had when they invested through a roll-up vehicle. It's as simple as sending a link to an investor, and that's basically it. The normal process is you send an email with documents back and forth, you wait for signatures, you coordinate signatures, you wait for the wire to hit, and all of this is automated with the AngelList Raise product. And it's a product that works both for safes as well as equity rounds. And this year we integrated it with roll-up vehicles. So founders have one single place to manage their entire fundraise. And they get the same benefits from both, as they have a single link either for direct investments, or if they're running a roll-up vehicle, a single link to send investors to their roll-up vehicle to invest. Founders can view their fundraise all in one place. And the reason this one's really interesting from AngelList is we have the market insights that founders really want to know to understand the market. And this is powered by our data set on the other side of our business, serving funds and their investments. And as a result, we get one of the most up-to-date and accurate valuation trackers that is possible in the market. So when founders are using AngelList Raise, they don't see the market trends as of last quarter. They usually see the market trends as of yesterday. And that's powered by the fact that AngelList is so close to so many investments in Silicon Valley. We can give a breakdown of what is the 25th percentile of companies raising at, how active is the investment market, and how much are companies raising. And this kind of information is really hard if you're a founder who's not connected in Silicon Valley to understand. And even if you are, you won't have the same kind of data quality just by asking a few investors or others how they feel like the market is. Now you have backed data from AngelList. And it's just integrated into our fundraising product here. Okay, so that's fundraising and how companies use equity to raise capital. Next up, I want to talk about how companies use equity for attracting employees and retaining them through equity grants. And if we look at all of the complexity that we talked about earlier, the complexity ends up really coming mostly from the equity management side of managing and administering an equity program for your employees. Of all the things that are complicated on this graphic, almost all of them are tied to option grants and equity awards for employees. And it gets really complicated, and founders have to end up learning what a lot of these things mean, despite not being that relevant to what they're actually trying to solve. What we realize is, in order to solve this problem and in order to decrease the friction of issuing equity, we believed we have to build a full-featured cap table management product for companies. And that's what we've built with AngelList Equity. It's a full-featured product that allows companies to do everything from who are just getting started to those who are raising their later stage rounds and managing large equity programs to use. It features functionality that will give you an overview of your cap table, as well as complex reports. It'll give you the ability to issue equity awards and sign real documents, track the vesting, and manage your stakeholders so you can invite investors and have control over the communications that they see. Shareholders end up with portals, and employees end up with places that they can online exercise their option agreements, and it'll help calculate a lot of the taxes and the money movement involved. In addition, another reason founders need a cap table is for their 409A, and that's all able to be managed, requested, and used through our product. And then finally, it powers reporting that is used by lots of people in the company, everything from complex ASC 718 reports for accounting to regulatory reports like Rule 701, and all of the other things that law firms, among others, need to actually be able to manage your cap table. We have a lot of companies that are using this product and trusting it for their equity management program as well as cap table management. And there are thousands more companies that have decided to use AngelList Equity as their cap table tool and solution of choice. And we're excited to grow with them. We think it's really important to build a great product, and our customers tend to agree that we have an excellent product that is paired with great service to help them manage their equity. And we're able to help companies move from other providers. Oftentimes the case we hear is that their other providers have hard to use user interfaces or just in general are difficult to manage. And as a result, we provide transition services so that you can seamlessly transition off of an existing solution into AngelList Equity and get going very quickly. That being said, just generally, I don't think the world needs another generic cap table solution. As much as we can build great software here at AngelList, we're not here to build something that exists or a slightly better version of the past. We're here to build what the future looks like and unlock lots of value for startups and their founders and employees and their investors. And the way we're going to do that is we're creating solutions for all of the places where companies find lots of friction in their equity issuance. And that happens through legal innovation. I have this saying that I tell candidates at AngelList and others who are asking about AngelList is, I think what AngelList does really well is we pair legal innovation with software delivery mechanisms. And the way I think about our cap table product, it's a delivery mechanism for the legal innovations that we will tie in. And the combination of the two will result in a substantially better experience for our customers, but also unlock something really new that wasn't possible before. Rollup vehicles are a good example of that. AngelList built infrastructure for SPVs, and we found a way to make it work for founders. And as a result, founders are finding all kinds of new creative ways to use that infrastructure and unlock new things that they can do with their equity. And that's similar for cap table management. Today, I want to talk to you about some of the things that we've been working on to make that happen. The first one is something I'm very excited about with equity blocks. The normal process, and if you're a founder who has issued equity to your employees before, you understand this, is that in order to issue equity to your employees, you will have to go get a board approval and a board consent. And oftentimes, if it's a individual contributor, software engineer, for example, that equity grant is fairly standard. And regardless, you still have to go to the board and get it authorized. As a result, not only is there additional friction for you and the company in preparing all of that, but also for your board, and most importantly for your employee who has to wait weeks or months before the next board meeting or next time the board can go around and authorize these shares. And what we've developed is a new way for companies to essentially pre-authorize equity awards to employees. They can discuss with their board what seems appropriate and allow automatic issuance. What this enables is you can now grant equity to someone on day one of them joining if it's a standard equity grant within the parameters set by the board. And this tool gives the board the reporting features they need to understand how the equity plan is being used, but the powerful automation allows us to remove this unnecessary friction that just causes delay. And what I like to think about is, as startup founders, and certainly when I was convincing employees to join my company before I joined AngelList, I had to convince them about the value of the equity and how it's a core part of their compensation. But if you joined a company and you didn't have your payroll made within 7 days, you would start to ask questions about what's going on. But this is the standard today for equity. You might have to wait months to get your equity. And so in order to solidify that equity is a core part of a compensation for employee, we think this is a major unlock that allows companies to operate. And it's just one of the suite of tools that exists in our product. For companies that do adopt this, we give them the board automation and offer a lot of the software to adopt this in concert with their law firm to review. Next, I want to talk about Toyota Assistant. And this is based on something that we've seen from talking to law firms and founders, as well as in our own experience on the fund management side of our business, where we see discrepancies in cap tables all the time that materially impact the ownership of investors. And a very common use case we see, and is something that I was dealing with yesterday, is that a company had to were migrating their cap table to AngelList, and they once they migrated, they realized that our system had flagged a safe that did not convert in the equity round. And it turns out the company and everyone involved had missed that one particular safe. And as a result, all of their equity round calculations were wrong. They have to go back to their investors and recalculate and reissue shares. That is a major headache. And you might be thinking this seems like an odd one-off case, but it's actually the case in almost every cap table we've brought over from another solution or helped migrate. We have almost always found some kind of error in the cap table, specifically as it relates to documents. And it could be that documentation doesn't exist, like a board approval might not exist for an option grant, or that the actual terms inside of the document do not match what is in the safe, or what is in the cap table system, all the way to the document just being completely wrong or unsigned. And so we launched a system that uses some of the document parsing technology we built at AngelList to automatically scan every document in the cap table continuously to check for whether it matches what is in the cap table system. And the reason we believe this is because the cap table system is not the source of truth. It is really the legal documents at the end of the day that matter, and the truth needs to derive from them. And the cap table system is supposed to be an easy-to-use way of managing that, but the legal documents are what matter. And so Toyota Assistant is what enables us to ensure that there is accuracy and mapping to what is in the legal document, at least the key terms. And the actual UI of that looks something like this, where when we detect discrepancies, we're able to parse out the fields that we did pull out of the document and what is in the cap table system. And so if there's a discrepancy in the number of units granted and what is in the system, we're able to pull that out and flag that for a company and their law firm. This tool has been really powerful. We found over 5,000 errors or inconsistencies inside of companies' cap tables. And it's almost universal, and we're hopeful that Coyote Assistant is something that will help bring this problem to be easier, because companies end up having to pay the price of correcting these either at their next equity round or fundraising. And as a result, it makes most cap tables not transaction ready. If you asked a law firm to say if a cap table is good to go, I don't think they'd be able to do that until they reviewed all of the documents and made that easy to happen. So if you want to do any kind of major transaction, your cap table really isn't transaction ready until there's been a tie-out. And that's what Coyote Assistant is also designed to help ensure, is that cap tables remain transaction ready and there's not additional costs that are incurred before you can get your cap table to be transaction ready. So this uses a lot of the technology we've built at AngelList, and we're excited to roll it out more broadly. But this feature has been available for customers on specific plans of AngelList Equity for a while, and we're continuing to grow this functionality. To give you an idea of why this is complicated and why this needs to belong in an equity management product as opposed to a standalone product, is that documents often relate to each other. So you see an option grant here. What you don't see is that the tie-out system is also checking to see if there are docs to substantiate the employee's offer letter and see if the offer letter matches the employee's grant. If there are documents associated with a board consent where this employee's grant is listed along with the right grant date and grant details, whether that board consent has been executed, among other things. And so the tie-out system is more comprehensive and touches multiple points inside the cap table management system. Okay, and finally I want to talk about the AI equity assistant that we've built. And this is designed to be a powerful chat interface for you to shortcut any kind of equity management tasks or advice that you need when you're managing a cap table. It helps pull in all of the insights that are in the AngelList ecosystem, including some of our data about fundraising, as well as perform actions in the cap table. And we think this is going to be a really powerful tool for founders. Anytime I meet a founder, they're rarely excited to log into their cap table software. It's usually because they need to get something done, and they want to manage it correctly and not make any mistakes. And that's where we can come in and help guide founders to do something efficiently and make sure it's done correctly with their law firm in the loop of anything that is happening. The kinds of questions you can ask the system range all the way from advice questions like when should we hire a VP of sales, to show me the details of my equity plan, to grant 500 options to my new employees. And it's a very powerful system that we've trained with a lot of knowledge that we've built at AngelList in terms of what startup founders need to know and what they commonly do in the software product. We think this is just a better interface for most founders to operate in. And I want to show you a little bit of what that looks like. So embedded in AngelList is this Ask AngelList system. It's clickable from anywhere in the product, and you can ask questions like, what is someone's ownership of inside the cap table? Now, Tyson is an employee, and it's going to come back with what their ownership is in this company. And at this point, I can ask it to give Tyson more equity in the system. And it will do that. And I want to make sure that I'm doing it correctly. And so AngelList will actually automatically help you loop in your law firm as appropriate. And normally this step in most other cap table systems involves clicking at least 50 different buttons, but we're able to infer what is necessary and what isn't, and loop in the law firm as appropriate to help the founder and the law firm efficiently execute their equity management tasks. It also pulls in market data. So you can ask questions like, what are market valuations like in the seed or Series A business? And what are valuations specifically in my industry? In addition, it can help you solve some tasks that would otherwise involve lots of clicks, like, can you pull this report for me? And it will do it for you. In addition, you can ask it advice. Something that founders often learn when they're raising equity round is about the option pool shuffle. And it's a complicated concept, but AngelList can help you explain what that is and how founders should navigate that. And that's powered from our knowledge base, including articles from Venture Hacks, which was the origination of AngelList back in the day. So that's a preview of the Ask AngelList system. It's something we're really excited by, and we think it's how founders are going to interact with their cap table software in the future. It's designed to make founders' lives easy, but make sure that they're doing it correctly in concert with their law firms. In terms of law firms, we work with, at this point, all of the top law firms. 4 technology companies have clients on AngelList Equity. And we've built specific software for the law firms that enable them to manage their clients efficiently. And the first one of that is the law firm portal. This is a portal specifically for law firms to view all of their clients and manage their cap tables, view the status of the health checks that we automatically run for them, and see if there's any issues flagged. For example, a health check that we would flag both to the company and a law firm is they're approaching their 409A expiration date, or that their equity plan is almost overdrawn. And that's something that allows law firms to be proactive about their advice as opposed to finding out about something bad happening and then having to fix it. Law firms, in addition, are able to access the market insights that we've talked about for their own clients as they're delivering advice, and manage their own team. So it's very easy to help other folks on the team view companies like paralegals and associates. This is something that's been pretty useful for law firms, but I also want to talk about the health checks specifically. So in addition to the Tie-Out Assistant, we're also able to surface all of these other health checks, and it is designed to just surface any errors that pop through. And it's a comprehensive list. We have dozens and dozens of these health checks. Great. And then lastly, I want to talk about our API and the open cap table format. The open cap table format is something that is a coalition of over 49 different law firms, software platforms, and other people who work with cap table data. And what they've done is agreed upon a common set of standards around how cap table data should operate and how it should work to enable data portability, but also to allow different people to work with cap table data in different ways. And this is something that we're proud to support and feature in our product so that law firms can work with cap tables in the way that they want. And what law firms like Gunderson are doing is they're building special tools that allow them to work with this format of cap table and create specific tooling around them that meets their workflows. And what we're announcing today is that Gunderson is launching a specific API that allows the legal team at Gunderson, when they form or are helping companies create their cap table, to automatically set them up on AngelList Equity. And for them, it is a one-click process that essentially says, set this client up. And it integrates with all of their internal systems and makes it really easy for companies and law firms to manage equity. And this is an API integration that's going live today, and we're excited to support more law firms who want to use APIs or the open cap table format and work with them. All right, as a recap for what we're doing with law firms is we're building out these features that are based on what law firms are asking us for. And we're dedicated to listening to law firms and working with them as partners in this process. And at this point, we work with almost all of the law firms. And the most important thing is building software that works and delivers accurate results for our mutual customers. And the products that you see here are just part of the effort to get there. Okay, So that's what we're doing to help companies manage manage their equity on AngelList. So I want to thank you for your overview. Thank you for paying attention to the overview, and we're going to take a break here before our next few sessions, which you can stay tuned for here in a little bit. All right, thank you.